Okay, part two. Part two of It Won't Be Perfect. So even if it's really clear that yeah, this is supposed to be, okay, that heaven is saying yes to this, and you both just feel that way, and you've tested it, and also even others giving some confirmations, there is a place for others speaking into the situation too. Now, people can be wrong. People can be carnal and look at your situation, and maybe God set up a strange situation with kind of an impossible thing, and they're thinking carnally, like, no, there's no way because this and this is not in order, and this is not in order, and blah, blah, blah. Well, he doesn't have an IRA, and blah, 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 and, whatever. Well, if God is orchestrating something, it just may not be, it may be a little unconventional. And so some people won't understand that. But those that are listening to the Holy Spirit, if you both feel it's right, it is wise to listen to wise counsel with other people and get a little feedback too at some point, right? Because if everybody around you is like, don't do this, don't do this, even if non-believers are like, don't do this, you need to listen because you're probably blindsided to it, or I'm probably blindsided to it, whatever. So anyway, I said that to say we need to understand there is one perfect, and that is God. There's one perfect. We're being renewed and transformed. If we're cooperating, you want someone who wants to grow. You don't want someone that wants to stay back in their blame and hate and victimization and bad-mouthing and gossiping and slandering and irresponsibility, or whatever it is. You want someone that is moving forward, whatever their past is, okay? And the same thing goes, of course, if someone is still actively drinking, and they've got a drinking problem, or actively gambling, or they just can't seem to keep their eyes off women or men, or if you're sensing you're sensing an abusive edge to them, right? You got to watch that stuff. But generally speaking, if God's bringing two people together, he's kind of prepared them. We have to believe that. He's prepared them to come together. They're not finished products. That's the key. They're not finished products. I won't be finished, and neither will he. We're still a work in progress. But, that is an excuse that, well, that's just how I am. That's just how I am. Nobody's perfect. That is not an excuse to not grow and not learn to yield and open yourself up to have your heart mended and change and learn to love better. To improve. That is you don't want to live by those excuses. Well, that's just how I am. Love me or leave me. When you get married, you're involving two people. That's the problem. You can be those things when you're by yourself because, you'll just be the one that'll suffer. But if you bring that to someone else, they're suffering too. So, we need to think about what we're bringing to the table for the other person, along with, what they're bringing, And the less selfish we've gotten, and the more we know the love of God and have gotten a revelation of that, and we know more, we're more kind of centered and balanced in who we are, that he loves us, and that's our main stabilizer and anchor, the better decision we can make with this whole thing, and the more access we're going to have to love another imperfect person, right? Who is going to, as I said before, you are going to have a conflict at some point. You're going to disagree at some point. You're going to have a moody day together. You're going to have some things go wrong where you're just both, this is life, right? There's gonna be times when he's dealing with temptation. That is gonna happen. There's gonna be times where she feels insecure, maybe, or she's just hormonal, Or, you know what I mean? Or, there's that's just what it is. That's just the messiness of love. We're dealing with each other, and we're imperfect. And we're still going through a process. And thankfully, hopefully, by this time, there's enough healing that we can actually float a relationship and maintain it and stay in it and confront the difficulties we have. That's what has to happen in a relationship. I don't care if it's heaven sent. We're not going to go, cornflake, fruity, pebble, strange, freaky deaky. No, we have to be grounded in reality on this earth and seated in heavenly places at the same time. You can pray for your health and for your youth to be renewed, but if you don't take walks and have some vitamins and watch your stress and see that you get some green leafy vegetables, there is a cooperation here. You know what I mean? There are things that we need to be guided on, listened to, that we need to do that's our part. And heaven does the rest. So we still have the law of gravity. If I jump off my house, I'm probably going to break a bone. Yes, the angels could buffer my fall, or one of my bushes could buffer my fall. But generally speaking, there's going to be some kind of injury because of gravity, right? Gravity makes us fall down. Well, so, we still abide by Earth's laws. We have to eat, we have to drink, we have to get oxygen, right? Okay, so anyway, heaven's laws, earth's laws. So we need to be grounded in heaven, but grounded in earth too at the same time. And that's what makes this thing so dang confusing. People either they're carnal Christians, or they get like spirit heads, and they're just freaky full of, you know what I mean? And it's a lot of head trips. When you live in the magical mystery land of marriage and Christianity, and you're waiting for that one person that's for you, and they're going to be perfect. That's magical mystery tour right there. It's going to be another human being. And if you have to be able to love them where they are. You want it to be divinely orchestrated, be prepared at a place where you can maintain a relationship with someone, and then accept that, this is an imperfect person, and you are part of the process of their growth and healing and sharpening them, and they're part of the process of your growth and healing and sharpening you. And you also are the hands-on, boots on the ground love to each other. You're hands-on, boots on the ground expression of love to each other, right? Okay, so it's not going to be perfect. So we have to look realistically. Okay, here's my life now. Okay, I live a kind of non-structured life, and sometimes I'm not motivated and I have depression, and sometimes I'm this and sometimes I'm this, and I'm generally a nice, friendly, kind person, but when I get hurt, I can want to really withdraw, or I can finally take it, and then I blow. Just all the little patterns in our life, right? And so whatever the quality our life is right now is what it will be with that other person right now. There's not going to be a sudden change because they graced your life with their appearance. It's not going to happen either way. Hopefully, it's just an add-on and a good thing to each other, an added strength and support and help and company and love, and it's a good thing. So we have to really ask ourselves honestly, right now, this day, do I have something to bring to the table? Do I have mainly need and a lot of chips on my shoulder and axes to grind? Do I want to be with someone just because I don't want to be alone? Do I want them just because they want someone else? Do I want them just to show off to someone else? Do I want arm candy? Am I just lusting? Am I thinking this person's going to make my life right? Those are going to be the houses that the ceiling falls through there. That's going to tumble. But Even if you have one or two people that just they got issues, but they're really willing to learn and work on it. They're yielded and the state of their heart is good. They have a good heart. Their heart is softened. Okay? Their heart is softened, high quality. Imperfect, but high quality. That's what's important. And so you kind of got to say, well, okay, if their good looks are gone, but I want to care for this jerk who's not very nice. You know? If her good looks are gone, do I want her anymore? That's the stuff of love, guys. So, things have to be based not just in heaven's reality, but in earth's grounded reality. You really have to think about how you would exist with each other daily and whether you like them. Do you like them? Do you like who they are? Do they like who you are? Do you just feel comfortable around each other? Is there a mutual attraction beyond just friendship? You know, do you get each other? Are you free around that person? Or are you walking on eggshells? Are you worrying about what you say all the time? There should be freedom. Freedom to be who you are and say who you are. That's the only way the intimacy is going to develop. And sometimes that means those awkward times of conflict or when they've offended you and talking about it and assessing, is this thing worth staying in? Yeah, it is. Let's keep going. You know what I mean? And then sometimes the answer might be, this is not worth it. This is just not worth it. So we've been taught to, when it comes to the gospel and persecution, that's one thing. But you really aren't supposed to be in a situation of prisons and persecutions within your personal relationships, especially your marriage. So yeah, it's humble. Love is humble, but love is a two-way thing. We have to treat each other the way we would want to be treated. And anyway, so there has to be a giving on both sides. It's one thing to minister to a person and know you're not going to get anything back. That's okay. It's one thing with your outer relationships that are acquaintanceships that your heart is not invested. Now, hopefully, as the body of Christ, we at least will try to connect heart to heart with people. But while we're on this earth, it's really a small circle that you really can, finding one or two people in life that are invested in you, that want your good, that care, that don't want to hurt you. Even though they may hurt you, they don't want to hurt you. Something they say might rub you wrong, but it's not in their heart to hurt you. Did you know Moses, this is only, I was having I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and and this person said, yeah, it was, the reason Miriam got leprosy is because she criticized Moses for marrying the black woman, the Ethiopian Cushite woman. And I said, no, it's because they were resenting Moses's position and authority, and they felt, Aaron and her felt that, well, we should be just as important. I think it's probably both things. But, I don't know. That was the impression I got. There will always be the temptation, right, to want to be the top dog. But the reality is when you're a top dog, you're the servant. Really. If you're in the kingdom. There's never supposed to be this glory. Right? That's not at all. That's man. But the interesting thing said about Moses was that he was the humblest of all men on the earth. Solomon was given the wisdom, the wisest man. And look at the mistakes he made. Moses was the humblest of men on the earth. Think about that. And he also had a stuttering problem. So I don't think he didn't choose the job. The job chose him. But I thought that was very interesting. And it also says, my prophets know dreams and visions I give them. But Moses looks me in the eye and knows me. In other words, Moses goes to Starbucks with God. He's a friend of God. He knows him. The people knew his works. Moses knew his ways. There was a very close relationship there, right? There's a difference. Even with that intimacy with God that others didn't have, because of the high level of accountability, Moses blew it with getting angry, getting water from the rock one time, and it cost him the promised land. He got to look in, but he couldn't go in. So that's important to remember. That would suggest God is not partial, wouldn't it? He loves Moses and they're intimate, but he also has to chastise him too. So it's not like, well, he gets away with it because he's in my inner circle. Nope. I like that. So I never read that, or I just always had missed that, but that's really something, isn't it? So actually, the reason it's interesting is because of a conversation I was having with a friend of mine who's going through something. And, you know, when you get in the Fruit Loop spirituality and you think, well, I missed this, so I missed God. I missed everything. I missed God. And, you know, and then it gets into all this weird, like, dark thing, and the devil torments you and your soul torments you. You know, that's when you get in Fruityville. But the reality about that is that Moses did make a mistake he couldn't undo. We do have to see that. He made a mistake. He couldn't go and do the Passover. He couldn't undo that. And he didn't get to go into the promised land. But God still buried his bones, and he still had his intimacy. He was still like this with God. That ought to teach us that our works need to be like a separate thing from the relationship. The relationship stays in spite of how well we do with our works, or, you know what I'm saying? How the mistakes we make, we can't just like act like God's this employer. The relationship has to be able to withstand and handle all of our human mistakes and rebellions. So, and usually mistakes, well, rebellion is a mistake. Every mistake is not a rebellion, though. I don't know. So, okay, so the point being is, the reality that there's only so many men, so many women, and it's harder when you get older, and it's a matter of God's preparation in the lives and being able to hear the voice of the shepherd in these matters, and knowing that, you know, there's a lot of people that need to be saved and healed, you know, and brought out of darkness for there to be this. That's one thing I want to say. But the other thing is that we have to be grounded in natural too. You know what I mean? I mean, there are things like, you know, God's not going to mate you with someone that you don't even like, you know, or that's just really makes you very unhappy, you know, or you really can't feel close to, that's unsatisfying. I'd like to think God is a little more apt to prepare people a little better than that. But, you know, if he does put you in a less than ideal situation with someone, if he does, he's got something ahead, right? There's something he's going to do, but he's telling you, green light, it's a go. It means he's got something ahead, because he's not just going to put you in a torqued up situation to leave you there. There's a reason, right? So we can't keep trying to create these ideal Ken and Barbie situations where everybody's got their ducks in a row and everybody's so this and everybody's so that and there's none of this problem or that. Look, We're unfinished products. He may have something come up when y'all get married that y'all are going to have to deal with together. You may have something come up that you already have, but that you're going to have to deal with each other. The key is honesty, not withholding those things before you're married. People need to know what they're getting into. You need to tell them if you've had an addiction. You need to tell them if you're still struggling with something. You need to tell them if you've got a venereal disease, right? Or AIDS or whatever. You need to tell that person. You need to tell them if you've got a terminal disease. You need to tell them if you've had trouble with the law. You know, you need to tell them if you're illegal in some way, or the law's after you, or you've got exes, or you've got children that are real angry with you, adult children, or you've got 5 little babies at home, or, you know what I mean? Or you've got a mental disability. You can't work much, or you have to work part. You've got some kind of disability, or you have seizures, or you know what I mean? You struggle with. There has to be a disclosure of those things, just like you have to disclose things about a house. That's honesty. There needs to be a disclosure in the right time in a progression about yourself. But some of those things, the person needs to know kind of soon on, because they need to be able to make a decision. I don't know if I can deal with that. Right? You know? I mean, and we have what are known as deal breakers. And, we need to really know what is a true deal breaker with us. And then we need to know what we can be flexible on. Certain other things that we need to learn to be flexible about. Because it's going to be a give and take. He has children, you have children. Right? All right, I'm out of time.